Hey guys, what's going on? Ian Preston here on my second channel, Ian Preston Reviews, and welcome back to another Cobra Kai review or something, or a TV review. And today I'm going to review, by the time this premieres on my channel, it'll be the 1 year anniversary of Cobra Kai Season 6, Part 2. And yes, I'm going to be reviewing. Please check out my first channel. That premiered, what premiered on there was the me reacting to the you and John Doe brawl. But anyway, it might not be as loud because I didn't want to have it too loud on my phone because I didn't want to get in trouble with copyright. But anyway, let's get into the review. The episodes were called Benvinguts of Barcelona, Dog in a Fight, um, Snakes on a Plane. That one was directed by Jen Colaieta, and Blood In, Blood Out, and You and John Doe. I mean, part two begins with them, Braun announcing some things, field trip for the competitors, a place for something for the senseis, where they put on their headbands, their captain headbands, and Miguel's like jealous still. And then eventually they get to the hotel. They have a little montage of Barcelona, which they haven't done those kind of montages in a long time. And then they have like, um, um, Daniel and Johnny are arguing, so are the Binary Brothers. They meet Quan, and Sam is sad about Tori being on Cobra Kai. So is Robbie, and they meet Quan, and he goes to to Dimitri, which Brandon said he wanted to do that to Gianni, as he's been a fan of the show before he was Quan, and apparently, I think they were all gonna do a first impression that day during they go to an aquarium for the field trip, and some people are already going at it, and sadly, Robbie tries to tell Tori, sorry about your mom, and Quan is like trying to get a challenge them to like a kick on the board or something. Hawk and Yoon are like going at it, and eventually they meet Kreese, and um back at the thing for the senseis they meet Kreese, Daniel and Johnny, and they almost get into a fight with them, but and at first Johnny was wondering why Sensei Wolf or Louis Tan's character is taking all the stakes he wants, but he said it's for a friend and I can take all the stakes I want. I'm probably willing to stop you, and I feel like Daniel's just being Johnny's babysitter at this point. And then eventually Chosen comes in all drunk. He's like, I'm with Miyagi-Do. And he was heartbroken because Kamiko, um, um, some man comes out with a towel and talks to him about Kamiko, and Chosen was heartbroken. That's why he was all drunk. And I guess Devin tries to talk to Tori, so does Sam. And then Robbie loses a bet to Quan. They have to sleep together. I mean, because Quan gets their room. And people blame Robbie for like lying or something. And then eventually he did admit that he didn't know that she was gonna do this. And Tori was still struggling. Kreese was so nice to her, but I don't know. Kim Dae-yoon was kind of harsh to her. And then eventually, as there's people are like sleepless in Barcelona, and there's farting in the room, and they're playing Thompson Twins Hold Me Now during that montage, and Robbie does leave the hotel to talk to Tori, and she says we should focus on karate, and he said any one of us could have been there for you, but you don't trust us. You don't trust anybody but yourself. And then all she does is wish him luck, and then eventually Miguel the next day mentions Robbie leaving the hotel, and eventually they struggle, and then eventually Cobra Kai does because they get introduced to the Iron Dragons. It's revealed that Louis Tan's character is the sensei of the Iron Dragons, and we see Raina Vallandigham and Patrick Lewis in there, Axel and Zara, and literally Miyagi-Do struggling. Daniel and Johnny are still arguing, and he remembered what Gunter told him about going out to see like some dude that Miyagi knew. He was gonna go out and do it when he gets something in the mail, and then Johnny tells him not to come back until his head's on straight. And Devin and Sam have like an encounter with Zara in the elevator, and Binary Brothers are still arguing, and they admit that it should be Miguel out there being the captain, not Robbie. And he's like, he really needs to get over it. And then eventually Daniel does get caught and kidnapped as he was going. He gets knocked out. And during the tournament, Miguel does win it for them, but sadly they're still behind. They don't have a pleasant talk in the locker room. Um, Sam tells Johnny that he, Daniel probably didn't come because of him, and then she admits that he keeps disrespecting him, and she tells him that he shouldn't be wearing that gi. Devin tells her not to talk to him like that. Sam just says, "I don't know how you made this team," and then the brother Dimitri brings up MIT, and then Hawk cuts off his conversation and tells him, "It'd be nice if you cared about winning as well." And and Robbie did try to get them to stop arguing, but literally, all Miguel says is maybe you should listen to your own advice. And then he says, "You got something to say?" He's like, "I already did." And they just leave. And then eventually, we see Daniels in dog cages, a dog cage with dogs. And it's no mistake. Maybe some people were thinking it was like some crime boss in Barcelona. Maybe people thought it was going to be Hector or something, Salazar from season 5. But he uses his Jesus necklace to get out and then knocks the two guys out and causes one of them to get eaten by the dogs. Then he runs into some dude, William Christopher Ford, which we did not know that was Dennis yet. I didn't recognize him. He gets into a fight with them, rips off his sleeve, and reveals that there was a Cobra Kai tattoo on his arm. He assumed he worked for Kree, so he defeats him and tells him this isn't over, Daniel tells him. And then eventually, Devin admits to Johnny tearfully what he did, what she did to get into the Sekai Taikai. That he gives her a pep talk, and then Johnny calls Daniel to tell him to come back, and he does need him. And then eventually he apologizes to everybody and tells, "Remember what you learned from Miyagi-Do." And then they get on this platform fight with Dublin Thunder, and most of them get knocked down, but Miguel manages to. Well, before this, Miguel and Robbie have a little argument, and then Miguel manages to finally to verse two of the Dublin Thunders, and he wins the tournament, wins the match for them. And then Daniel confronts Kreese, thinking it was his idea to send someone to kidnap him, but eventually he sees Sam, and Johnny gets called back to the States, and him and Miguel go on a plane, encounter a drunk guy, and the flight attendant thinks he's going to be trouble. Amanda tries to get Kenny to go to Spain to fill in for Miguel, but he doesn't want to because she tells Amanda that he believes Anthony made him crap himself. And they looked up the memes of the shit butt memes or something. Anthony thought it was funny, and Amanda was annoyed. It's like, you should be ashamed of yourself. I cannot believe they have a son that is capable of bullying like that. And she makes them go to Kenny's house to apologize. They get into a fight. She tries to straighten them out, but they just wouldn't make up. Miguel gets mad at Johnny on the plane and blames him for things, and the flight attendant separates them. And again, they have to deal with the drunk passenger, and then eventually Johnny manages to go and talk to Miguel. He gets teared up, and then they have to deal with the freaking annoying drunk passenger, and then Miguel hits him in the nose, knocks him out. He should have hit him in the gut, causing him to puke everywhere. That would have been funny. And then eventually, apparently, Hawk asked Chosen if they could, like, I don't know, go out and hit the town to clear their minds. They do that, and then they go to this old tapas bar. Robbie thinks Quan and Tori hooked up, and then him and hooks up with Zora, and then Dimitri dances with another girl. Hawk calls Moon, and then eventually, when he shows the tapas bar to Moon, Yasmin sees it and then dumps Dimitri for dancing with Maria Alvarez. And then Sam meets Axel on the beach. They get an encounter with Cobra Kai. Axel almost kisses her. And I remember seeing the behind the scenes before this even came out. We were all thinking who this was going to be. And Sam luckily breaks off the kiss and all and mentions Miguel. And then Tori sees Robbie sleeping with his leaving the hotel room with that she was sleep that he was sleeping with Zara or something. And then Miguel and Johnny get to the hospital after the drunk guy's arrested. Carmen's okay, and so is the baby. And then there's a Rocky reference. She tells them to go back and win. And then Chosen and Kim get into a fight and then kiss. And then the next morning, oh yeah, and then Dimitri blames Hawk for Yasmin dumping him. Devin calls Kenny, admits that she was the one that put the laxatives in his drink. And Anthony was apologizing, but then he drinks the laxatives to make it even. But yeah, when Kenny finds out that Devin was the one that put the laxatives in his drink, he forgives Anthony and they make up. And he runs to the. He could have easily let Anthony use the bathroom because literally they made up anyway. Kenny gets on a plane and yeah, they get Kenny. Miguel and Johnny get Kenny, and I like how they played some of that Karate Kid music when Carmen said this: "Make one promise for me, win." And then eventually they meet up with Kim and Chosen meet up with Daniel and Kreese at a hotel. They see Dennis, and they find out Sensei Wolf sent the thug to kidnap him, and that's where they find Terry Silver in the hot tub, and he explains the whole gist of how he got out and how his lawyer, played by one of the creators, Hayden Schlossberg, got him out. And then eventually we see how Silver met Wolf and how he buys out the Iron Dragons, and apparently and Daniel realizes who William Christopher Ford's character was, and then eventually they reveal this to the kids and to Johnny about Silver being back, realizing what good is prison when Kreese can escape and Silver doesn't go. And luckily Johnny and Daniel are able to reconcile, and Kenny apparently takes Devin's spot, and I guess Robbie kind of distracts Tori as they're fighting against Tiger Strike. They lose, Miyagi-Do loses to Furio to Panthro because they just wouldn't trust Kenny. Terry even has an encounter with Kenny, but then Kenny manages to help them defeat one team, and Kenny flips off Terry Silver. And then they get John and Terry to screw with each other, thinking Terry screwed with them. Gunter breaks up the fight, and then in the locker room, the most powerful scene of Cobra Kai ever, where they say one last time, "Who are we, Miyagi-Do?" Dimitri and Hawk make up, and they admit that we're all family. And um, at first, apparently, Tori and Robbie get in a fight, and then they manage to talk it out, and then this makes Robbie mad when Quan played him. And then they manage to do a really good fight against Cobra Kai, and then Robbie defeats Quan and emerges victoriously. And then, sadly, Terry gives Daniel I like how he's standing there proudly, the Karate Kid standing proudly, but then Terry gives him a gift about the year Miyagi competed, and it's revealed that he killed his opponent. Then Kreese said, "This isn't over till I say it is," with the knife. Daniel has a nightmare about Miyagi competing in the Sekai Taikai. He sees a spirit, and young Miyagi's played by Brian Tegdashi. And then eventually they show the thing to Braun. He said it did occur that era. It was a different time. And then eventually, Robbie and Quan have an encounter when he tries to talk to Tori. Apparently, Tori did cause Zara's social media to go, and Axel can't stop looking at Sam. Sam reveals what happened on the beach to Miguel, and then they all get called before Kreese was going to strike Terry Silver. um, that Tiger Strike cheated and they get eliminated. Evenoff refused, but Gunter put him in his place. And then Cobra Kai's back in, and then they get the results. Maria Alvarez will fight Zara Malik. Robbie Keane will fight Axel. Sam and Tori will fight, and then Quan and Diego Aguilera would fight. And then they go out on the beach. Johnny and Daniel do get into an argument, and then Miguel manages to break it up and motivate them. And they do like a Rocky training. And this is when Miguel finally ends the feud between Johnny and Daniel. Ali just paused it, but this time Miguel ended it. So Miguel's really the really winner. Double point, triple point Miguel, triple point Diaz winner. And then they have like an awesome training montage in Barcelona, like Rocky style. And Tori trains with Cobra Kai. Kreese is trying to get her to see that Sam's not her friend. The final matches are brutal, and then eventually it ends up in a big old brawl. Everyone's going at each other. It ends with Quan trying to kill Axel, but then he ends up falling, and then the knife goes right in his chest, and then Quan dies. And apparently it was on TV, and then right after Quan dies, Braun yells, "Cut the feed! Cut the feed!" But yeah, it came out on Netflix on Friday, November 15th, 2024, last year, and I can't believe it's been a year. And I was so speechless when I was like so stressed out, like on the edge of my seat when I was seeing this. Getting emotional, getting angry, getting anxious, getting happy, getting teary eyed, getting scared. And yeah, I was rated a 10 out of 10. This part of Cobra Kai season 6 was great. And I was hyped for it because it took a while. Because after the end of season 6, part 1, I really wanted the next part, and I finally got it. And they fixed Kenny as well, and Binary Brothers made up, and officially Miguel put Daniel and Johnny in their places, finally working together, and yes. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. That's my. And the people with the music did a pretty good job with this, and everybody did a pretty good job with this. The whole cast was great, and they filmed that in Atlanta somewhere. It was great. The behind the scenes are great. Quan was doing this. Oh, Brandon H. Lee was doing this. The hit the Quan dance, like after they filmed the scene, when he dies. But anyway, anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. That's my 1 year anniversary review of Cobra Kai season 6 part 2. But anyway, if you guys are new to this channel, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, check out Ian Preston. I did react to season 6 part 2 on this channel last year as well. Check out my first channel, Ian Preston. Link will be in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, love y'all, and Cobra Kai never die.